News tonight in the Sarah Palin Troopergate investigation into the governor's possible abuse of power. A McCain-Palin spokesman says the governor's husband, First Dude Todd Palin, will refuse to testify in the inquiry, even though he was issued a subpoena. Not responding to subpoenas. Why does this seem so depressingly familiar? The First Dude news comes as a state lawmaker said tonight that lack of cooperation by key witnesses will likely derail the investigation until after the presidential election. The question being investigated is simple. Did Sarah Palin fire Public Safety Officer Walt Monaghan for refusing to fire a state trooper who was involved in a nasty divorce with Sarah Palin's sister? Before she was selected as the GOP's vice presidential pick, Palin denied wrongdoing and said she welcomed the investigation. In fact, she told the public to hold her accountable. But McCain aides have now questioned the integrity of the inquiry, even though it was launched after a 14-0 bipartisan vote in the state legislature. As of tonight, remarkably, this investigation appears safely quashed until after the election, until after its findings might be of really big political consequence to Americans who don't live in Alaska. Joining us now is Newsweek's investigative correspondent, Michael Isikoff. Hi, Mike. Thanks for joining us again. Mr. Isikoff, what is the status of Troopergate right now?
Well, it seems to be crashing into a stone wall. The subpoenas were voted by the Senate Judiciary Committee of the Alaska Legislature just last Friday. It now appears that none of the subpoenas for the aides to Governor Palin and her husband, First Dude Todd Palin, are going to be honored. There's a meeting of the Senate Judiciary Committee in Anchorage tomorrow, and it doesn't appear that anybody who was subpoenaed is going to show up. And so the question then becomes, where does it go from here? The bipartisan members who voted these subpoenas can refer this to the state Senate. There could be a full vote to hold in contempt the witnesses in contempt by the full state Senate, which could include First Dude Todd Palin. The question is, will that vote take place before the election? And it's not clear whether it will.
To what degree is tonight's news and the now uncertainty, as you describe it, that anything will happen before the election, to what degree is this a result of the McCain campaign airlifting a lot of lawyers and operatives out there to try to stop this investigation?
Right. Well, look, there was a calculated decision made, no question about it, shortly after Sarah Palin's selection as vice president, that this was a potential minefield for the McCain campaign. You had a bipartisan, unanimous vote by the Legislative Council, the management body for the Alaska Legislature, to conduct this investigation. The deadline, and this is before Sarah Palin was even contemplated as a vice presidential nominee, was going to be October 31st. So once the selection was made, I think the McCain people, who, whether or not they fully realized this before Sarah Palin's selection, suddenly realized it right after, that they were facing this potential October surprise of a damning report by the state legislature, which even if it didn't find illegal acts by the governor, could question her credibility on the eve of the election. So ever since, there has been a concerted effort by the McCain campaign. As we talked about a couple of nights ago, a top lawyer for the McCain campaign was flown to Alaska as part of this rapid response team and made the argument repeatedly that the investigation was tainted by politics, that the guy in charge of it, Hollis French, was a Obama supporter, Obama contributor, who was making comments to the press that he shouldn't have made, that suggested that this investigation was going to be embarrassing to the governor. And frankly, Hollis French did say things that he shouldn't have said. He's acknowledged that the results could be damaging to the governor. It could be an October surprise. So he played into the hands of the McCain campaign, and the result is a political mess right now, where the waters have been successfully muddied and the underlying issues have been obscured.
Michael, we're just about out of time here because we're going to go talk to Tony Knowles, who's the former governor of Alaska, about this. But I have one last quick question for you. Did the Obama campaign ever send people to Alaska to work on
Well,
this?
they've certainly been monitoring it very closely. There have been suggestions that they did. In fact, the McCain campaign had an ad showing wolves from the Obama campaign. I was up in Alaska last week and didn't see any. That doesn't mean they didn't exist. If they are there, they're keeping a pretty low profile.
Yeah, just incredible. Michael Isikoff, investigative correspondent with Newsweek magazine, thank you as always.
Thank you.